Yuji Itadori is now finally a special grade, or at least he's fighting on a special grade level. Since he very first entered Shinjuku, it's been on everyone's mind. He's finally got a curse technique along with the ability to now perform the reverse curse technique. He's completely leveled up his mastery over the soul and can even attack the space between Sukuna and Megamis. Well, just a month before, no one would have questioned Yuji's placement alongside the rest of the grade 1 sorcerers. Aside from Yuji himself being recommended as a grade 1 candidate, his comparisons to other sorcerers like Nanami, Kusakabe, and along with Todo's ability to keep up with Yuji, despite Yuji hitting a black flash, it all made it pretty clear where Yuji stood. While definitely stronger than most, Yuji Itadori never made it out of the grade 1 tier. During the few times Yuji had gone up against actual special grades, they were all clearly out of his league. Kenjaku had Yuji on the ground literally within moments. Although Yuji had landed a black flash, pushing him to 120% of his potential, Yuji was still out there looking like he got knocked. Against Yuta Okotsu, while Yuji could keep up better than most predicted, he still literally died. When fighting alongside Maki Zenin, back during their brawl with Sukuna, Maki's gotta ask Yuji before she finally decides that it's time to speed things up. Likely because Maki got the idea that Yuji just can't keep up with her anymore. He gets tagged at times where Maki just simply does it. Throughout the entire brawl, Yuji's clearly on the weaker end of almost every interaction. Against Kenji Akari, he's forced to sit through a literal beating. Even before he gives up on trying to dodge Akari's punches, Yuji still gets caught in his technique and pummeled. None of the characters I just mentioned are weak by any means. In fact, it's the opposite. The point I'm trying to make here is that Yuji clearly couldn't stand with them before, and the gap between Yuji and really any special grade he found was massive. Although Yuji was strong, he just wasn't exactly there yet. But although Yuji clearly couldn't stand with any of them before, things have definitely changed. In the last month before this big battle in Shinjuku, Yuji's been getting ready. He's back at his best. Yuji's at the strongest that we've ever seen him. Before, Sukuna never even considered Yuji worth killing, but in the present day, it's completely different. Yuji was given the role as one of the first people to enter the front lines when Satoru Gojo went down. He was one of the first people to take on Realm Sukuna. Aside from Satoru Gojo, he was the first person to land a blow that shook the King of Curses. He's been keeping up with Yuta Okotsu even inside of his own domain expansion. While before, that was the same special grade that was more than capable and even pulled off killing Yuji Itadori. He's been landing blow for blow and even a knee to the face on Sukuna, the one before who saw Yuji as nothing special and proceeded to laugh in his face. With his improvements to his arsenal and his overall power, in this video I'll be going over why Yuji Itadori has reached the special grade level. If you
This fight in Shinjuku, Yuji's definitely changed a ton. Because of that, I'll start by going over everything new to Itadori's arsenal, and because of that, I'll leave a timestamp on screen, and while I don't recommend it, there's chapters in the video, so if you just want to skip ahead, you're more than welcome. Since we've last seen Yuji, like I mentioned already, he's a lot different than he was before. He enters Shinjuku with these claw-like arms, and we've never seen anything like this before. From his forearms down to his fists, Yuji's got these demon-like gauntlets. We don't know if this is another curse tool similar to the one we see Yuta pull out in Sendai Colony, or if this changed happen on more of a biological level, but to be honest, we'll just have to wait and see. Aside from appearance, Yuji's only gotten better at manipulating his cursed energy. Sukuna says that everyone on the battlefield has upgraded their cursed energy strengthening. In the last month, Yuji's only gotten better at making his body stronger. In combination with his already insane physical strength, this is massive for Yuji. His cursed energy manipulation in general has improved massively. Yuji's now able to perform the reverse curse technique. Now having access to RCT means that Yuji now finally has a healing factor. For a while, that's been everybody's big problem with Itadori. He's had just no way to recover from damage. While Yuji always had crazy endurance, healing himself from damage is still massive. If it's just pain, Yuji Itadori will keep fighting. We've seen Yuji push forward when taking damage on a level that would put most people out of commission. Against the Finger Bearer, Yuji lost an entire arm, but still continues to fight back. After being slashed through with Sukuna's dismantles back when he was only at 15 fingers worth of his original power, Yuji still kept moving forward. Yuji is just like Maki. They can both endure a ton of damage, but still keep fighting. Although unlike Maki, again, Yuji couldn't heal himself. While slow, at least Maki had a healing factor. Now with reverse curse technique, Yuji can still take that insane level of pain that he felt before, but also come back better than ever. In just the last month, Yuji's come pretty far with his mastery over positive energy. Keeping in mind that Ryu had mentioned back in Sendai Colony that repairing an arm would be one hell of a feat, meanwhile Yuji's repairing chunks of his abdomen. It's his reverse curse technique that's already saved him numerous times against Sukuna. While he hasn't completely healed yet, Yuji said that he's already eaten 4 attacks attacks that should have put him down for the count, but thanks to his reverse curse technique, he's managed to pull through. On top of all that, Yuji's now finally using an actual curse technique. Since the very start of the series, we've been told that Yuji just can't use Jujutsu. Aside from the possibility of him using Sukuna's curse technique in the future, we never knew if Yuji was going to be more than our favorite punch and kick merchant. Yuji Itadori, just like Kamo and his three brothers Eso, Kechizu, and Choso, is now a blood manipulator. We haven't seen him use anything like piercing blood or slicing exorcism, but he's pulled off a supernova on Sukuna himself. Gojo had told us before that curse techniques make up for about 80% of a sorcerer's potential. Innate talent can definitely define somebody's future. With now having a curse technique, Yuji's now unlocked an entirely new channel of power to manifest. And finally, the newest attribute to Yuji's arsenal are his punches. He's no longer just throwing around ordinary strikes, but punches capable of damaging the area around the soul. Since his body already passively understood the soul's composition as a byproduct of being a vessel, he's already been halfway there. Using the book that Yuki Tsukumo left behind on her research about the soul, Yuji's manifested a new level of damage on another level. Against Sukuna, he's been attacking the space between Megami and Sukuna's soul to then raise Megami's soul higher from the place that it's been sunken down. By Yuji landing these punches, in return, Sukuna's now losing more and more control that he had on Megami's body. His cursed energy output is quickly dropping lower and lower, and his overall control on the body is now weakening. This isn't something that's only applicable to Sukuna. Yuji can take this strategy up against any vessel in the Culling games. Kinjaku had described his vessels in the Culling games as hundreds of malevolent Yuji Itadoris. Kinjaku makes this comparison to point out the idea that Yuji is the same as everyone else, at least back when he was Sukuna's vessel. Megami and Sukuna shouldn't be the only exception to this idea. The way that Sukuna's manifested himself in Megami is the same way that every other vessel in the Culling games came to be, by splitting the soul of the past sorcerer into a cursed object, then having a vessel ingest that same cursed object is how the vessels were created by Kinjaku in the first place. That part's not even a theory. Angel herself describes this very thing. It's possible that hypothetically, if Yuji landed the same punches he lands on Sukuna, but instead on any other Culling games vessel, we'd begin to see some similar effects. All of this really does make you think, what the hell has Yuji been up to in the last month? Better cursed energy reinforcement, reverse curse technique, blood manipulation, and new demon-like claws? We have no idea what type of training he's been under at all. All Yuta says is that they've been cheating, but that's an entirely different topic to dissect. Yuji's also had an amazing ability to grow and learn with a very good teacher. Against Todo, Yuji had gone from not knowing how to consciously flow his cursed energy around his body to landing black flashes in just one day. Now that he's likely training with actual special grades like Yuta Okotsu, it makes sense that he's come this far. But has he come far enough to be considered a special grade? It kinda depends on how you look at it. We don't know the official requirements for hitting special grade, although we do have a few clues. Kinjaku explains to Choso that one aspect that can signify special grade power is the ability to take down a nation. But Kinjaku doesn't say or even hint at the difficulty that would come with taking on this nation. We don't know the size or capabilities of the nation whatsoever. For all we know, Kinjaku could be talking about taking down the United States or Costa Rica. At bare minimum, we can rationalize that since this feat is supposed to signify special grade power, it would have to be a country that no grade 1 sorcerer could ever take down. It's a nation powerful enough to beat Meimei, Nanami, and Kusakabe, but weak enough to be easily toppled by Suguru Geto. Considering the massive gap between grade 1 sorcerers and special grade, I highly doubt that it's a country that grade 1s barely lose against either. Regardless, there's really just no way to know. It wouldn't be ideal to just guess the power of the nation that Kinjaku's referring to. On top of which, this is only likely one of many requirements to hit special grade. Kinjaku had figured that by judging by Jujutsu High's criteria for special grade, Yuki must be holding back an extension technique with high cursed energy output as her trump card. Extension techniques are moves that are created by the sorcerers themselves with their innate techniques implanted as the basis. Nanami, for example, he uses his ratio curse technique to create collapse. Normally, Nanami's ratio technique is used to deliver a critical hit on a 7-3 point out of 10 point line division. The difference between ratio and Nanami's extension technique is that collapse is a secondary barrage of rocks that are destroyed by the ratio technique then filled with Nanami's cursed energy. Yuki doesn't have one of these, or if she does, we just haven't seen it. It's debatable if Yuki's black hole was her extension technique, but it doesn't really fit the criteria very well. The black hole that we see Yuki create against Kinjaku is just her curse technique Star Rage, but kicked up a few notches. Okay, definitely more than a few. Star Rage allows Yuki to add virtual mass onto herself, but since it's virtual, of course, it doesn't affect her natural level of density, meaning she can increase the weight behind her punches without slowing herself down. But like most curse techniques in the series, there's a limit. When she increases the weight behind her punches past a certain threshold, it begins to take an effect on her body. While there isn't a limit to the amount of mass Yuki can add to herself, there is a limit to the amount of mass that Yuki can add to her body before it begins to start affecting her density. Unlike the characteristics I mentioned before that separate Nanami's curse technique ratio with his extension technique collapse, Yuki's black hole doesn't doesn't really share those qualities. Those characteristics I named were not from my own interpretation. It's word by word how Gege Akutami, the mangaka for Jujutsu Kaisen, described Collapse when he was going over extension techniques in general during an interview that you can find in the fanbook. When it comes down to extension techniques, they're more like its own move, but there's something that the sorcerer came up with using the expanded interpretation on their technique. Yuki's black hole is literally just Star Rage. From how Yuki describes it and how Kenjaku analyzes it, it's not like Yuki's applying Star Rage with some greater interpretation on her technique, the same way Nanami uses Ratio to create his extension technique Collapse. Yuki is still powering up herself with Star Rage, it's just to a much higher degree than we've ever seen. While Yuki could have an extension technique that we just haven't seen, she's not even the only outlier in the case that she doesn't. Even if Yuki doesn't have an extension technique, there's a ton of other sorcerers who are all ranked special grade and we've never heard of them having an extension technique. Aside from Gojo creating red, blue, and purple, the only other special grade with a debatable extension technique is Yuta Akotsu. Sky Manipulation's Thin Icebreaker may very well be an extension technique. Oro explains that the move is not aimed at a person, but rather the surface of the sky. But grabbing that surface and cracking it like thin ice is how Thin Icebreaker even exists. Considering what we define extension techniques are based on the information from the fanbook, Thin Icebreaker and therefore Yuta Akotsu can qualify for the criteria that Kenjaku mentions. The reason why it's important to see what other special grades have extension techniques is because it can help us build consistency with the criteria that Kenjaku mentions and what's actually true for every special grade. If Kenjaku says that one of the official requirements for special grade is having an extension technique, and every other special grade besides Yuki from what we see has an extension technique, it's more than likely that Yuki has one and we just haven't seen it. Gojo's red, blue, and purple are all extension techniques, and Kenjaku's literally in Geto's body when he's making the statement, so in a way he's speaking from personal experience. The idea that special grades all have an extension technique seems to be consistent across the board. If Geto, Yuta, and Gojo likely have one, then Yuki probably has one too, and we just haven't seen it because she hasn't had the right time to display it. If the criteria that Kenjaku mentions for special grade is consistent, that would mean Yuji Itadori can't be ranked an official special grade because he's currently missing an extension technique. Now, even though everything I've said points to this idea being consistent and pretty plausible, there is actually a contradiction. There's a time that a special grade was appointed without having an extension technique and really without any curse technique in general. While I have said that Yuta fulfills this requirement with Thin Icebreaker, Yuta's been a special grade way before he's ever entered Sendai Colony and way before he ever copied Oro's Sky Manipulation. We see this firsthand way back in Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0. Yuta's given the rank special grade solely because of Rika. The fanbook elaborates on this decision, explaining that it was due to her boundless cursed energy. Considering Yuta didn't even know the basics behind manipulating cursed energy whatsoever, I highly doubt that he had some secret extension technique. So far, there's already been 3 different reasons for different people achieving special grade. One of them is having boundless cursed energy like Yuta, being capable of taking down a nation like Geto, or having a powerful extension technique with high cursed energy output like Gojo. None of the other officially ranked special grades have cursed energy even comparable to Yuta, so we can't go off that. We don't know the size or battle power of the nation that Kenjaku is referring to, so we can't really go off that either. Satoru Gojo is the only one out of the 4 special grades who even fits the extension technique requirement. With Suguru Geto, it's likely, but there's nothing that proves it for a fact. With Yuki, we've just never seen it or have never been implied that she ever has one, and Yuta just flat out didn't have one when he was officially ranked as special grade. There really isn't a requirement for special grade that seems to be all too consistent. Beyond all that, Gaku Ganji has said before that special grade is a bit of a misrepresentation even within Jujutsu sorcerers. Not even he agrees that special grade sorcerers have been represented properly, and there's likely multiple aspects to being special grade. Overall, the official requirements for special grade are just complicated. They don't entirely make sense or really seem to be all too consistent. Even if I were to be extremely generous and say that Yuji fit 2 out of the 3 known characteristics that can signify special grade, we don't know what requirements would be absolutely necessary and which might just be optional. So as for now, it's impossible to officially declare Yuji as a special grade just yet. However, a better question in my opinion is if Yuji is currently fighting on a special grade level. Hikari and Maki, for example, aren't classified as special grade whatsoever. Hikari was expelled and isn't given a rank in the fanbook, and Maki on paper should still be a grade 4 sorcerer. Despite not being ranked or even ranked unfairly, both are clearly fighting on a special grade level. They're both considered along with Yuta Akotsu as one of Jujutsu High's heavy hitting fighters. Without a doubt, not being ranked or being ranked grade 4 is clearly a complete inaccuracy to their insane level of power. Gojo had told both Yuta and Hikari to only join the battle against Sukuna if he himself became weaker than they were currently. In the event that Gojo's power does reach a certain threshold, one where he'd be weaker than both Yuta and Hikari together, then they should both join the fight and help Satoru Gojo. Gojo's implying that Yuta Yuta, the other officially ranked special grade, and Akari, the unknown and ungraded sorcerer, should be around the same level. Now, before a debate starts in the comment section, Yuta and Akari don't need to be perfect equals for Gojo's statement to make sense. Statements comparing both Yuta and Akari's matchup can be found all throughout Jujutsu Kaisen. They're definitely somewhat close in power. Whether you think one is stronger than the other, it doesn't really matter to the argument. Maki's performances against Sukuna also clearly show her to be fighting on a special grade level. Throughout both of her encounters with the King of Curses, they both signify speed and power comparable to those on the special grade level. Both Akari and Maki are portrayed to be this strong, while Akari is ungraded, and Maki on paper should still be considered a grade 4 sorcerer. Being considered an officially ranked special grade doesn't really matter all that much in my opinion. Considering the controversy around the official definition for special grade, this is a much better question. Is he fighting on the special grade level? Can Yuji Itadori keep up in comparison to those to be considered fighting on the special grade level? The short answer is yes. Yuji can 100% compete with those who are also fighting on the special grade level. Even while Yuta's inside of his own domain expansion, Yuji's got no problem keeping up with him. There's even a moment where Yuji begins to outspeed Yuta. Although this does only speak to travel speed, of course, it's still wildly impressive. Yuji's proved that he's got no problems landing blows on Sukuna while also trying to keep up with Yuta and Rika. We know all throughout Jujutsu Kaisen that normally sorcerers can't fight alongside each other when there's a large disparity in power present. It's the reason behind why when other sorcerers fight alongside Satoru Gojo, they only make him weaker. I'm not saying Yuji's equal or even relative to power overall to Yuta, but Yuji should not be able to keep up this much if he didn't have special grade level power. Keep in mind that Yuta, even outside of his domain, is still ranked as special grade. Yuji's able to compete with a Yuta who's stronger than he was when he was ranked as special grade. Gojo has explained before that domain expansions give the caster an upgrade in stats. We've seen the difference in power between people like Megami and Dagon inside their domains versus outside their domains. It's clearly a massive difference. Also keeping in mind that generally, we know the gap between special grades and grade 1s are massive. Not a single one of the officially ranked grade 1s have anything on the special grades. While it is important to keep in mind that the Sukuna that Yuji's fighting is actively being weakened, along with having a lot of other after effects from his fight with Gojo, he's not the one who I'm comparing. Yuji's ability to fight alongside Yuta against Sukuna is what's impressive. Yuji's keeping up in a special grade battle against and alongside a special grade. The weekly pages from Shonen Jump recently have also said the same thing. There's a comment about how the special grade battle is currently being expanded with the target between both Yuji and Yuta becoming Sukuna. While Ino's sure that Kusakabe can also keep up in a special grade battle despite himself being grade 1, there's definitely a difference between how Ino and Kusakabe perform against Sukuna and how Yuji performs alongside Yuta. None of them have anything to prove that they're even slightly capable of fighting alongside a Kotsu like Yuji has already done. Without a doubt, Yuji is finally showing us that he's more than capable of standing alongside other special grade students in Jujutsu High. Keeping up alongside Yuta, using reverse curse technique, blood manipulation, and soul striking punches, aside from when it comes to an answer to domain expansions, Yuji Itadori is more than capable of competing on the special grade level.